to take this session on roller power converters for renewable energy integration with Indian grid. See, if we want to integrate any renewables, so we need some interface converters. So why I have chosen this, my area of research also belongs to the same area. So why I have chosen this, like Dr. Ramesh has told, like I was with Hitachi R&D for four and a half years, where I used to take care of R&D division of renewable energy integration and developing the inverters for grid. Like it's not only grid but also kind of UPS systems. So there I understood that I think in future actually belongs to mostly belongs to the power electronics. Means down the line everything will be like it's a renewable, and the conventional energy will actually slowly the emphasis on conventional energy will slowly goes down, and that time a lot of problems we will encounter. Like it's a renewable energy integration, as we see it's not that simple in terms of the grid stability and other technical issues. So there I understood that when I was in Japan, so there was no issue even if you put converters, like it's when we integrate the renewable energy sources with the grid, there is no issue. But same converter, if you bring it from Japan to India, if you actually test it, here a lot of issues we used to see. Like it's because the grid of India is not so stable because of various reasons. Like it's I would say it's like one reason probably is not planned perfectly, and another reason I would say because of the distribution of the loads. Like it's very randomly, it's because of the random distribution of the loads and generation system. So this planning is not so perfect because of that grid is not so stable. So a lot of fluctuations we used to encounter because of that. Like it's some areas, especially we have encountered the scenario in Kadapa. We actually installed one solar inverter power plant in Kadapa. There we used to see like it's a lot of failures. It's mostly because of the grid instability. So then I understood that okay, so India down the line the renewables will take up. So that time if it poses lot of problems on the grid, why can't we take that as a challenge, and why can't we uh, like it's take that as an R&D things. And so from there I actually thought of joining IITs, and I started applying. So I got in this IIT. So I have actually taken here up as a lab also, like a renewable energy integration with the grid. We exclusively work on this problem. So during my journey of last 4 years, we have identified a lot of problems and solutions to that. Now we are employing these solutions on the problem. I will actually explain what problems we have encountered, we have identified, and how we are actually trying to solve. So I think this is the brief introduction about why I have chosen this research area. Uh, for my even future like it's aspects also I'll pursue in this area only. That's what we decided as a lab, and we are seeing a lot of scope in this particular area. So that's what it's a background of this research area that I have chosen. So this session I would like to make more interactive rather than only giving lecture or giving only talk on this. But if you have any doubts, please interrupt me anytime. So I don't have any problem, because only interaction will bring more clarity. Yeah, please keep that in mind. You can interrupt anytime. So this presentation actually I have actually structured, like first I will talk about what is the energy scenarios of India at present in India. So what is the renewable energy contribution? So with the renewable, what problems we will encounter in the future if the renewable energy goes more than 30 to 40%, what potential problems we may encounter in the future with respect to grid stability, under that I will briefly go through. And after that, what as a researcher, where we can contribute. There are many problems, but as a power electronics engineers, where we can contribute, that I think we will see in this session. So first, if you see the energy scenario of India, so as of now, if you look at the energy generation capacity, it's almost 375 gigawatt. In that, coal contribution is more. It's almost 197 gigawatts, followed by the renewable. So here the renewable, if you look at the renewable portion, it is almost comparable, but the government of India trying to emphasize on the renewables, to especially solar PV, to increase the installation of the solar PV by giving lot of incentives. With this, like it's by 2022, it is targeted to install 175 gigawatt of renewable energy. So if you look at the portion, so the wind is taking lot of like emphasis as of now, especially southern India like Tamil Nadu, Andhra. So the wind is more uh, predominantly coming up. It's almost 35 gigawatt of wind installations has been happened till now. After that, it's a PV, like it's a 28 gigawatt of PV across in India has been installed. But the target is 175 gigawatt. But as of now, we could achieve 100 gigawatt because of the reasons, like pandemic and all. But now government is like it's forcing companies, and it's by giving incentives, they're forcing companies to install a lot of PV installations. So with this, by 2027 to 75 gigawatt is actually the plan is, but that plan I think government of India hopeful that they could achieve. So this is the brief energy scenario of India. So if you look at the market size, how economically this will be influential. So if you look at that aspect, if you see like it's although the government of India planned for 175 gigawatt by 2022, but Modi has actually announced in the Paris agreement that to make India pollution free, he actually told that the actual target is 225 gigawatt. It's not the 175 gigawatt. Although it is very difficult to achieve, but government of India is hopeful that we could achieve. If you look at like it's a companies like Adani Power or Tata Power, and recently Reliance has also joined the group, like it's by announcing 50,000, more than 50,000 crores investments on the renewables. I think with this, government of India is hopeful that they could achieve at least by 2023 this 225 gigawatt. So like it's this sector is very prominent for Indian government as well, in the sense that lot of investments will come up, and based on the investments, if you look at the scenario, lot of jobs it can create. That's the reason government of India is mostly emphasizing on the power sectors, and it's almost, they have estimated 80 billion US dollar investment is required in coming few years. So that's the reason they're inviting all the big companies to join the group. So at present, if you see the sector composition, so the, as I said, wind power is taking the major portion. After that, solar power, and then bio and the hydro not that big compared to wind and solar. And similarly, the units of generation, like it's a number of units generated per year, is also from the renewable. We at almost 127 127 billion units we have actually received from the renewable energy sources. This is not very significant compared to conventional sources like coal, but it is encouraging. This is also encouraging figure as per the international scenario. If you look at almost 30% of the energy, that means we have received from the renewables in total like year. So with this, after seeing this initiative, government has actually forced uh, like it's a private collaborations to bring all the things in place. So they have actually given a lot of incentives, like it's a, they actually proposed every like it's a district, you could see like green energy corridors they're establishing. And the major policy they brought into picture is wind solar hybrid policy. What this policy is, if you look at the wind, along with the wind, solar is actually they're promoting, because solar is inertia less energy. I will explain what is inertialess energy. If you join these two, so there are specific advantage we could get, not only in terms of the technology, but also like its economical benefits that we will see later slides. And also like it's a mega solar plants they're initiating with partnership with big companies like Tata Power and Reliance, Adani. So these all initiatives, government of India hopeful that the renewables will take up the next generation. So so far so good with the renewables. I think it's that hearing this is very good, but as a electrical engineer, as a researcher, we have a lot of problems we have to tackle before we are actually getting into actual renewable energy era. If you look at the world scenario, renewable energy installation scenario, Denmark is almost achieved 60%. That is the world's best renewable energy installation country. So, but the Denmark and the Ireland and the European countries, after installing the renewable energy, so they have actually reported a lot of problems to this world. So what the major problem is, if you look at the renewable energy, solar may be a bit consistent, but especially if you look at the wind power, so it is all intermittent and we cannot predict accurately how much instantaneous energy available with wind. So that actually that will cause a problems in the sense that, see, you are actually, the load is demanding certain power, your source is not capable to give that much power. So obviously the power system will experience a lot of disturbance. These disturbances collectively lead to the instability of the network. So these problems are especially coming, it's more aggravate because of the more renewable energy portion into the power system network. So these problems they have reported, and the researchers are aggressively working on this area, how to solve this problem. So they have identified that the one solution it could be, we cannot completely eliminate the conventional generations. Means we have to put them in the standby mode. For example, if you see this curve, like it's the curve that I have given. So the the red one actually represents the actual instantaneous demand. So this is the supply actually coming from the renewable energy sources. So if you see there is a gap. So here, if you look at this particular portion, there is no gap. So that means we could able to actually meet the demand that actually required by the load. But if you look at the certain portions, especially like it's a midnight, so renewables also not available, the wind is also not present, so the supply is actually drastically goes down. So that time, in order to meet the demand, we have to actually operate uh, the conventional energy sources to fill up this gap. So that means indirectly we have to keep all the conventional sources in place and operational. So that's the first drawback. We have to identify the solution for it, because conventional sources we cannot instantaneously like it's a power up and generate it. We have to actually take certain time, at least one day, if you see the coal and all. So that way we actually required it, all the conventional sources to be in the operational, at least in the standby mode. Whenever we required, we'll take the things from that. So that way elimination of the complete things, complete conventional sources are not possible, even though you actually achieve 100% of the renewable integration with the grid. So that's one drawback. The other drawback is, so these renewable energy sources are like it's a, we required an extra infrastructure, like it's a, you have to forecast in advance. For example, so like it's a demand for, along with the demand forecast, you have to do the source forecast also. So that forecast may not be like it's a very accurate, that because of the lot of influential factors, like it's a weather may not be certainly predictable. Even Google, if you look at the Google, so that Google, even the technology is not so accurate, the prediction is not so appropriate. So that's the reason we have to invest a lot of money on forecasting and these technologies. So in order to bring like it's eliminate the conventional energy sources requirement. So this is the problems, general problems as a researchers we have to tackle. So any doubts as of now?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No? Okay. So if you have anything, please let me know. Like it's, we will discuss there itself. If you wait for till end, you may forget what you want to ask also. Yeah. So here actually I have shown you like it's what problems with percentage of renewable integration will occur, and what investment, what network changes it is demanding. If you look at up to 10%, there is no problem, absolutely fine, because the conventional sources are in the dominant role. So they will take care even some disturbances in between, because that another one thing I forgot to tell before slide, the inertia of those sources. Inertia, what I mean to say, for example, if you are working with conventional generators, synchronous machine based generators, so it is having a lot of weight and lot of inertia associated with it. So if any problems occur at the power system, that means any fault occurred, say example, so that means it demands more current from the source. So this fellow cannot give that much current instantaneously. So what relays will do, it will actually identify the fault. There is a lot of time gap between, because the source will take its own time to respond. So this response time, we can use it to actually isolate that fault. So that way inertia will play a major role in the sense of isolating the fault. But if you look at the conventional and non-conventional, like it's a renewables, say solar, if you take that solar power plant, if you look at, so this is ideally the current source. Current, this is ideally exhibit the current source characteristics. It immediately try to give its own current demanded by the fault. So that time what will happen, this source itself will cause the oscillations, means it may not sufficient to give that much current instantaneously. What will happen, voltage will fall down at PCC, it's a point of common coupling. With the fall in the voltage, other generators come into picture. They will try to increase the reactive power to actually boost that voltage, so that the system, they try to maintain it. That process, what will happen, even if all our renewable energy sources all will act, it's a create a huge oscillation. So that oscillation will actually create instability in the power system. The complete network will collapse. So what I mean to say, the inertia is important for any network. So if no inertia, that means the vulnerability, or it's more prone to the faults. So that way, if you look at when we are planning to grow the renewable energy, like its installations, we have to look after these problems also, inertia problems also. Some extent we can solve this issue by adopting some control logics. I'll explain later how actually we could do it. That's actually food for thoughts. It's not implement it, because it's all for specific to India. So that I will give you, maybe you can explore further. But if you look at, it's like, it's since I'm actually talking about renewable energy penetration percentage, so this background I have to like it's explain. With this, I think you will understand. So like if you go for 25%, up to 25%, so we can use the flexibility of thermal and hydro, in the sense that we can reduce the thermal and hydro generation. But if you go for phase 3, like it's then the real investments are required. Why? Because it's, we have to forecast the demand accordingly. We have to keep the grid, like it's a support for that particular oscillations, and it actually requires a lot of investments even on the grid infrastructure. So power plants also, you have to, like it's you have to segregate the power plant. I mean to say, instead of having a bulk capacity of thermal and hydro, you have to actually segregate. It's a small portion which can revamp, or which can start very easily based on the requirement. So restructuring of the power plants is also required in this particular phase. And if you go to advanced phase, I consider more than 40 or 50%, it's actually advanced phase I consider. So here it's even critical, because the power plants, even small, even if you after restructuring, these power plants may not that instantaneous to support these problems. We can actually solve by adopting the artificial intelligence based algorithms, like it's advanced accurate forecast. So that means you can actually bring the lot of renewables, because it's only left with renewables. More than 50% majority portion is renewables. So you can bring the standby renewables immediately. Like it's for that, what actually our lab is proposing, only instead of concentrating only on the solar, we also can concentrate, like it's other sources like biogas, which actually we can store it based on the requirement. So these things, I think it's a collectively we have to work. And it's a, like it's a computer science people, or we have to invite them into this area to actually plan the perfect artificial intelligence algorithms in terms of forecasting and demand optimization, I mean source and demand optimization. So that way, like it's what actually we have forecasted in the lab, it's almost $160 billion investment is required by 2030. If you look at the investment, that is actually the problem of the company. But as a researcher, this is a real opportunity for us to actually venture into this, give the technology prior to any country. Means these are all Indian specific problems. As a researcher, we have to solve the problems, because I have seen, if you see the Japan or Europe, conditions are different from India. So the technologies they have developed for their own country will not work for India. So what we are doing, as now we are actually bringing the technology from the Japan, or it's from European countries, we are adopting further. So in that sense, some things it sometimes it works, but many majority times they fail. So that's the reason what actually we decided is India should have its own indigenous technology, especially for India. Because we if you look at our grid, the size of the grid is, it's ours is the biggest in any country in the world. It's a one grid, one country, but other countries are not like that. Yeah, so that way we have a lot of opportunities to pursue our research in this particular direction. So the one potential solution for this problem is, what actually the researchers have identified previously is develop a communication based grid. So the red line that he have identified, that marked here, is the communication. You just communicate. If you look at our conventional grid now, so there is no communication between your transmission to distribution, like it's a distribution to, like it's a your home. So it's all will happen based on the demand. It will actually the thermal whatever it's a source that will deliver, it actually consumes. But one solution, because of like it's introducing the renewables, one solution could be communication based. So this is mandatory aspect that we have to adopt. So this with the adopting the communication protocols, you would say. So these people are calling it as a smart. That means it's a smart grid. So that means it actually can plan its own means requirement by itself. Like it will plan its like its demand, and based on the demand, the generation it can plan by itself. So that's the reason we call it is the smart grid. So since we are actually eliminating the human interference, so network is planning its own characteristics. So we can actually like it's tell that this failure rate will decrease. Of course, we have not actually ventured into that region, that era yet. So, but we can expect, because it can take its own decision. One solution is smart grid, but even in the smart grid, because of the huge network, it's very prone to, because like I said, the energy transfer from one place to another place, so it takes its own time. Like it's I'll give you one scenario. See, the fault has happened at your home. The like for example, there is a solar farm near to your home. Try to give energy first from it, try to draw the more energy nearby the solar farm. So that creates a kind of disturbances in that particular region. But of course, it actually it's trying to plan from, say, thermal or something. But before that, the whatever it's a nearby source, it act proactively, so to that creates a disturbance. So what people later on, what actually we are thinking though, so to distribute the grid itself, like it's a divide. The smart grid is one thing, and within the grid you divide into small microgrids, because the sources are available, loads are available there itself. Then the communication even effective, instead of having a central communication link. So divide the grid into small microgrids, have a localized controls there itself, so it can manage very effectively. It is kind of decentralizing of the power, like it's a central, state and district. So the management will be more effective. So that after that, the concept of microgrid came into picture. Okay, so any doubt as of now? Means it's a, like it's a why smart grid is required, or it's any questions? Please ask. Maybe we can discuss on that till here, till this point. Anyone, please, because if you actually ask something, so I'll because I'll understand how you are actually getting things. Otherwise, this session is useless.
Sir,
Yeah, please. Yeah.
can you please explain something about the energy storage that you have mentioned in the picture? So, how energy storage takes place, important place in the microgrid configuration?
Yeah, energy storage, I mean to say, like for example, if we use the biomass. So this biomass can be organized as per our requirement. This can be stored as a like it's even in the form of like it's a raw material, or it you can convert into gas and you can keep it. That also possible. So biomass is actually storable, and other things are coming, like it's even not only biomass, and also the concept of the spring, like it's a recently we are actually, what we are doing, we are keeping energy in the form of kinetic energy, like it's increase small hydropower plants. So you can actually store the kinetic energy in the form of potential energy, that you can keep it as a storage, a small hydro. So these kind of storage we can plan based on the availability of sources locally. So that's what I mean. I meant that time. Yeah. Is that clear, ma'am?
Okay, sir, but I'm expecting something related to the battery energy storage.
Yeah,
What
battery it's always an option, but thing is that see, as much as possible, battery we will not prefer because the efficiency, considering the efficiency, and also it's a chemically thing. Battery is always an option, but if the resource, it's not the energy source, right? But what I'm actually telling, how to schedule with reference to the source, with reference to the source, which sources can be stored its own energy. So battery will be always an option. It is a storage device and it's a costly, of course. So like it's with this technology, batteries, it's like it's a very let's see in future the cost may reduce also, so that time it can be feasible option. But as of now, what we are thinking, how to optimize sources effectively, that is what we are, our concentration should be.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other question?
So, sir, what is meant by two-way communication, sir? Two-way
Yeah,
communication.
two-way communication is required because for example you have the solar farm. So the source side, for example, I think if you are working on the solar energy, you have, you know, the concept called MPP, maximum power point. So tracking, you are doing it, right? So, but all the time we will not operate the solar farm at the maximum power point. That means partially we will take, sometimes sometimes we will not take, but the system should know how much power is available with that particular solar farm. So when it is demanding, it is actually flexible in terms of when the demand comes. So then we can use this particular solar farm for that. So one system has to understand how much energy is available and how much it can give. So how much demand it is expecting from the load. So for this we required a two-way communication. You got my point, or it's
Yes,
like,
sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Got
yeah,
it, sir. Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Knowing
while we
Yeah,
integrating the renewable energy with grid, how to match the phase sequence and frequency with that of grid, sir?
phase sequence and
Frequency with that of grid, sir. While we integrating renewable energy with that of grid,
yeah,
how to
yeah.
match the frequency and frequency with that of grid, sir?
Yes. I will explain, I think, little later, because I think
Okay,
I
sir.
will cover that material also in this particular session.
Okay, sir. Thank
So,
you, sir.
so that time, please ask once again if I forget to explain. Yeah,
Okay, sir.
please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
knowing-
Anand ji.
yes,
Yeah.
sir, you said something on inertia issues with renewable energy.
Yeah.
Since it is for a small duration,
Yeah.
issue is for small duration. Can we think of a controller which we, along with one what you call standby source, which
Yeah.
can take care of these inertia issues?
Yeah, definitely. That's, I will explain later how actually the controller will play a role in increase the inertia of the particular renewable energy sources. I will explain that in subsequent slides. Yeah.
Oh, that means it is
Yeah.
possible.
It's possible, very much possible, Anandji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we can proceed next. I think, yeah. So if you look at the microgrid, like it's the concept evolved later, like it's a formulate the microgrids. So what is microgrid? It's a integration of the local energy sources with local loads. So this forms a small grid. So we can manage the energy like it's a demand and supply within the small network itself. So this of course demand a specialized controllers, like it's how to manage based on the cost and based on the availability, like it's a so we here we will have kind of fuel cells and battery bank to actually support uh, the support non-energy hours, even if it, of course, this is also integrated with the grid for now, but down the line, if the concept of the grid itself is not there, so this battery bank and fuel cells and these other sources, like other storage things, has to be like it's a size properly. So that's what the microgrid is. it's a brief, the local management of your own grid. So this is your own grid, you are managing by yourself. That is what the microgrid is. Now here, see here the problem when we actually go to my concept of microgrid, what essentially we have to see is matching the characteristics. So it's not like we just integrate whatever is the power available with the sources. We cannot just integrate with a bus bar and actually we can derive that power. It's not possible. Like it's one of our colleague is asking how to match the frequency and the phase. So the same thing has to actually we have to do here, because the power has to be uniform. For example, your ring is the whatever blue actually I mentioned here, say it's AC, uh, AC lines and with the 50 hertz frequency of the say 230 volt RMS. So the loads are demanding that much. So your sources should capable to send the power with that particular attributes. Otherwise, the a lot of disturbance, like it's a potential differences between the source and your network creates a lot of like it's a to and fro circulating currents that actually cause again the instability issues. So that's the reason what we have to do even in grid. What we are doing, if you want to integrate anything with the grid, so you have to modulate your power as per the grid requirement. So in India we have a 230 volt RMS phase voltage and it's a 50 hertz frequency. So that we have to actually match that before integrating with the grid. So here actually I have shown typically with the solar panels, solar farm, how we actually integrate with the grid. So when it is started, like it's when the solar farm like it's a started, so that means it's a voltage will be available, open circuit voltage will be available with the terminals of it's a DC terminals. First what we see in industry, like it's a before we integrate, we will check the polarity. So the polarity, the DC side is fine. So what we can do, so we can actually start the feeding it to the inverter. Here the inverter is actually responsible for modulating the DC power into the AC power. So because the grid is demanding the AC power, so now the solar power panels are giving the DC power. So this DC power we have to modulate as per our requirement. So this modulation will happen through the solar inverter. So this solar inverter, it's basically semiconductor based switches. So this will just chop as per the requirement. The DC voltage will be chopped as per the requirement. So we use a filter to smooth that particular current to a sine wave. So once that's way I have mentioned here, it's a LC filter. So this filter will actually bring out the AC wave out. So then what we do, like it's a, this is a simple thing I have shown, but here what we do, we take the voltage, we sense the voltage, and we will see that voltage magnitude of that particular voltage magnitude is matches with the grid voltage frequency and grid voltage phase in the closed loop. When if it is matches, we will actually close the AC breaker. So then the power will feed it to the grid. So now actually here one thing before actually going to the next step, we have to understand that, so the THD requirement of the grid. So here the solar panel should operate below 3% of the THD. It's a total harmonic distortion should be below 3%. That is the Indian grid standards. So for that, what we do, we actually like it's a concept of switching, increasing the switching frequency and the filter base different filter people have adopted. So these all, but basic aim is to achieve the THD less than 3%. So current THD. Voltage THD, of course, it's based on the grid voltage because we are sensing the grid voltage at 1% of the grid voltage THD, 3% current THD is actually required. Otherwise, you cannot integrate with the grid. So here what I actually wanted to show before we so this inverter now as I said before, so to actually interface anything with the grid, means any source with the grid, we have to match the characteristics. So as a researcher, we have to first understand what is the characteristic it's demanded by the load or output, what is the requirement. So based on that, we have to plan. For example, you're designing your own inverter. So in lab, what generally we follow is we follow the steps that I have mentioned here. For your reference, I have given a glimpse of the like it's procedural steps that we follow. So first what we do, we will understand the requirement of the grid. So like it's what is the AC voltage demand, what magnitude it is coming, at what network we are integrating, it's a distribution network or it's a transmission network, or 11 kV or 415 kV line we are integrating. So based on that, we actually first chose the complete system design. So we design the system either in MATLAB or whatever softwares available. So next we will plan a complete simulation study. In the simulation study, what we do, it's there are two things here we have to consider. One is the power network, where the power flows from the DC to AC, and another is the control network. So the control network is the closed loop control. That means how you will control the switches, that comes in the control network. So the control network involves the sensing circuits, like it's a feedback card that I mentioned here. So here we'll have a voltage sensors and current sensors. So here the voltage sensors is responsible to derive the reference theta. Why it is required? Because we are sensing the grid voltage here. So this grid voltage will come here and we apply ABC to DQ reference frame. That means the control circuitry will work on, like it's essentially on the DC domain, like PI controller will work only for DC signals. So that's the reason we have to convert AC into DC. So that means ABC domain we are converting into synchronous reference frame DQ quantities. After that, we are feeding it to the control card. This all we can do in the simulation study. We will design like it's how the things will be coming. We will actually mimic the actual scenario of the grid, and based on that, we can actually see like it's how to take the signals, and all these things we will simulate in the simulation study. So these things we will apply to the power network, and we will see the characteristics of, like it's we'll decide here what is the switching frequency and what is the capacitance required. It's like it's how much we have to size the capacitance. It should not be oversized or undersized. And what is the filter requirement? It's inductor is actually responsible for the smoothing the current. What is the filter requirement, and what is the AC capacitor requirement to get the, I mentioned like it's a 3% of the ripple is the requirement. For that, what is the sizes of inductor and capacitor. So all these things we will do it in the simulation study. After that, we go for the hardware. First hardware we test it in the open loop. Like it's first we open loop the power circuit we test in the open loop without integrating with the grid. So we connect with the load, means it's a resistive load, and whether it's a feeding the sine wave or not to that particular resistive load. At we give the modulation index. There is a control signal, we call it as the modulation index. That modulation index will actually decides what is the voltage coming at the output side, based on by varying the modulation index whether the voltage is varying or not. That we will see. So that after we satisfy with complete power network, so then we go for the software writing. Software writing means it's like it's a of course we tested in the MATLAB the control circuitry, but that control circuitry we have to code it in the DSP. So the DSP controller, what it does is like it's it takes the signals through ADC, analog to digital controller. So that means what I wanted to say here is, say you have the 415 volt or line to line voltage. So that voltage we have to send it to the control card, but means DSP. That card will only work with the 3 volts. 0 to 3 volts. So what we do, we convert using transducers. We actually, or it's a step down transformer, whatever means, we'll convert 415 volt to a particular voltage, a very less voltage. Here we generally use a op amp, like op amps we use to, like it's a reduce the magnitudes. So after that we will give it to the PLL. So after taking it to the this one, will generate the theta. That theta we actually use it to generate the this PWM pulses for the inverter. All these things will happen in the control card. That coding we have to write. Okay, when to start. For example, any fault comes, how to handle those faults. If any phase shift comes, how to handle. All these commands will come in the control card. In lab we are using DSP controller, so C2000 controller. So that coding will come later, and that also will test independently. Like we will give our own signals whether it is generating intended pulses or not. So then we will actually integrate with the open loop thing, and we will actually give the external voltage of the grid without connecting the grid. So we will isolate the grid from our network. We'll connect our system with the load, and we will test the integration of this control card and the power network. That comes in the hardware testing. So after that, once we satisfy everything, okay, PI is working fine. So then we will actually integrate with the grid, and the final verification we will do in the phase of results and validation. That's, we call it as the prototype validation. Okay, any doubt in this? Like it's
Sir, nowadays, reduced switch multi-level inverters are developing, sir. So
Yeah.
only to integrate grid to the renewable
Yes.
energy system, only conventional topologies are used, or reduced type topologies are also used, sir?
No, actually it's all depends on, like it's a what target you are looking at. In industry generally we won't take any risk of, like it's, for example, reduced, which will come with say certain trade-offs, like it's a THD. Actually our target is to meet the Indian grid standards, like they have specified certain grid standards. If it is coming with the same things we can meet with the topologies with reduced switch, it's not a issue, it's always welcome. And the safe reliability also an issue. But in lab what we do generally, we will not mind, like it's after few years what will happen, but in industry that's not the case. Basically we have to do the rigorous testing with like it's, we have to keep the backup for any damage also. That way all the trade-offs we have to take into consideration to bring any topology. So at least 4-5 months exercise we do to actually make any topology for any particular application. Yeah, make clear means it's all not an issue. It's like if it is reduced switch, it's coming and it's satisfying the grid requirement, we can definitely use. Nowadays there are many configurations are available. Yeah, even multi.
Sir,
Yeah.
we are using high power factor converters, sir.
Okay.
So to meet the grid requirements, to improve the harmonic profile, to improve the power factor, like that. But you are saying that we are using LC filter, like that. But in real time, we are using filters, or any other type of like high power factor converters, like that.
No, filters are very straightforward for us. We no need to complicate the things if it is not required. So that means if we like it's in this particular example that I have taken, we have used almost 2.4 kilohertz switching frequency, and the inductor size is because this is a 1 megawatt. You actually consider that means almost not I think 3 modules of 1 megawatt. That means it's almost 1 megawatt by 3. That much power at 415 volts it has to supply. So that much current it actually take. The inductor size is in the microhenry. It's not even millihenry. That way size of the inductor goes down. So because current is very high, that way we don't have to go for a specialized like it's a power shaping methodologies which actually demands a higher cost. For low power, I understood that, for example, current is not sufficient. In that case, LC filter may not work. But here, high power application, LC filter or LCL definitely. Of course, LCL there are some drawbacks like fast falling cutoff and all. But it's a LC filter will we like when I was in Hitachi, we have used only LC filter. It's all up to us. Like it's if that our aim is to solve the actually meet the requirement of Indian standards or IEC standards. If we are meeting with minimum price, like I said, that is fine. Otherwise, we have to adopt a different kind of methodologies. Yeah, like if conventional things are not solving, we have to see the further steps. Like it's how to actually achieve those things with active filters. These are all passive filters. With active filters also we can achieve those things. But grid connected inverters, as per my experience, I think LC filters are sufficient. Yeah.
So
Any-
what are the characteristics we have to consider to integrate to the grid? First one is harmonic profile, and also to meet, and second one is to meet the grid voltage,
Yes.
and also efficiency of the converter. Third one. And
Efficient-
is there any other requirements?
No, actually, see, for example, here few things. You have to define yourself, your supplier or manufacturer of inverter, or you are the vendor for the manufacturer, say BHEL or NTPC. So they are also supporting like it's renewable things. So they will call for the tenders to install. Like it's a who you are. So if you are the manufacturer, efficiencies matter for you. Means reliability of inverter, it's matter for you. But if you are a vendor, because you have to give ultimately you have to connect with the grid. So you will specify to the manufacturer that this has to be in this particular shape, means the THT should be less than 3%, LVRT requirement should be there, and this islanding mode it should be islanding mode it should operate. So all these things will comes with the vendor. But manufacturer, if you look at efficiency, his ultimate goal with reliability and minimum number of requirement he try to give. That means if vendor is not asking, why he has to worry. So that's how the things will change. You got it, Rajesh ji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that means
Sir?
it's all like, yes.
Sir, I have one basic question. In
Yes,
normal
ma'am.
mode, we are generating power from the solar and we are exporting it to the grid.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes if there is a problem occurs in the grid, what will happen to that solar power generation, sir?
Yes, yes.
Because it continuously generates power, right? Where it
Yes,
will go?
yes. Yeah, very
How
good
to-
question. Yeah, yeah. So that particular feature we call LVRT. It's a low voltage right through requirement. What that mean is, for example, any fault comes at the power system side. So the demand of the current is more. If you could not supply that much current, the voltage at that particular node will comes down because of the lack of the reactive power. So immediately what will happen, there will be a dip in the voltage across the PCC. PCC means point of common coupling, where we integrate with the, like I shown here, breaker. AC breaker, you can think it is the point of common coupling. So that breaker, it's again government of India recently has come up with certain requirement. As a manufacturer, what I will do, I will immediately isolate my system with the grid, because I don't want to spoil my system by supplying more current. Of course, because it's not capable one thing, but the capacitor I have to actually supply that much reactive power. As a manufacturer, I don't want to size my capacitor to that level so I can reduce my price. That's the reason I won't bother about the LVRT issues. But what government actually told now, like it's a recent grid code, you have to supply at least 1 second of whatever it's demanded by the fault. By the time fault clears, you can start continuing your things. So like that, they have actually specified certain standard to support a particular like it's a voltage magnitudes. So that way you have to obey the things. Of course, like you said, source cannot supply because the available energy at the source is fixed. As a manufacturers, you have to plan a auxiliary sources, like it's a battery or it's a high capacitor bank, that you have to plan. There is no other go. It's because it's a requirement from grid. Clear?
Sir, can you expand the acronyms shown on the figure, like right from the simulation study, like PS, DAP?
This all like a software tool, PESDAP and Actos, PSIM. These are all like software. Even expansions, we generally use Actos. That means it's to, it is a Hitachi specified tool. I even don't know the abbreviation. Like it's a MATLAB. Also, I don't know. But here I will try. PSFB, power supply feedback card, SMPS, switch mode power supply. I don't know what is PESDAP. This is the specific to Hitachi tool. So PowerSim, you know, I think ANSYS, you know, Actos, you know. So this is also CCS Studio, I think, like it's whoever is working on the DSP coding, they know the CCS Studio. So what else?
This,
Yeah.
PS, DAP, XTAS are open source for the students?
No. This is not even for universities. It's only Hitachi exclusive. But I mentioned here because we have used it. I mentioned here. It's not open source at all. I mean, it's exclusive for Hitachi. They have not released anything. It is mostly, it's not very big. It's generally, I will tell you the concept. See, like why we are using the MATLAB. My perception about MATLAB is, I'm sorry to say, it's because simple Excel sheet will do all the things. This PESTAP that we, not we basically, our seniors has developed based on the Excel sheet. Excel sheet means you give the voltage because all things have already mathematically computed. So for example, you want to design a passive filter. You just give like it's a what is your requirement, what will be the input, it will compute by own and gives the what is the value. So like it's the same MATLAB what we do, we actually like it's give our own like it's a inductor design. It's a basically a mathematics you are actually keeping there. LdI by dt you are keeping when you keep an inductor. Like it's L you are keeping. So when you supply that much voltage ripple, so and correspondingly it will actually act on the di by dt. All these equation it will solve. It gives its own voltage based on the rate of change in the current. So these are all like it's a mathematics. We are actually using background. Front it is showing like an inductor. But what people in industry they generally do, because they don't like to buy things from outside, so they will use their own Excel sheet to design their own things. Even in our lab, I won't allow people to use MATLAB, although it's a licensed in ITROPER. But see, once you go to industry, you have to adopt to industry culture. Of course, it's not industry won't follow. I agree with you. But the thing is that as much as you please reduce the dependency on the software. Only my suggestion is do by yourself your math. That's what my suggestion. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's like if you are a fan of MATLAB and other software tools, it's my general perception. I'm sorry if I hurt someone. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you said that the LC filter is going to be more than sufficient for our on-grid inverters.
Yes.
So where do we can use this active filters? Are we using the active filter?
Yeah,
Or
active.
based on the
Yeah.
sizing, based on the your inverter sizing, we can go for the active filters, or any specific idea, we can go for the
Yeah.
active filter.
Yeah, here active filters, we found one interesting application here is, so if you look at this particular configuration, here what we it is there is a concept of circulating current. If you have heard the common mode voltage and the circulating current, na Shashi ji,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that common mode voltage actually appear between the, because AC side the load is grounded at the star point. Okay, because to derive the neutral wire from it in the grid especially. So that
Yes.
means AC side is like it's a grounded. So the general requirement, if you look at as per the safety standards or grounding requirement, DC side should be grounded, but because of this common mode voltage between the star point of your load and the common DC bus, there will be always a certain voltage will actually goes, means that voltage flows from that ground path. Okay,
Yes.
so that ground path cannot be eliminated with this passive filter. What people are doing, they are actually adopting the fourth leg to provide alternating path for that particular current. So what will happen, that current, that is a, we call it as a, like it's a ground filter or ground current filter or common mode filter or common mode choke, whatever it is, but it's a, that's the main purpose is to provide alternating path for that particular current. So there, if any specific requirement, like it's a common mode voltage elimination or reduction of the ground currents or reduction of the circulating currents, all these things demands a special type, like you mentioned, like it's a extra hardware, extra active filter requirement will arises there. Otherwise, it's a, the simple passive things will be good enough to use. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sasiji. Yeah. So
Sir,
anything, yeah.
I'm having one doubt, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
as we know, the artificial intelligence and machine learning is an emerging topic which penetrates into all the fields.
Yeah.
So, what is the role of this artificial intelligence and this why on this grid integration, sir? And what type of problems that we need to address?
Yes. I will tell you. Actually, we are working on that particular aspect now. So what we have identified is, if you look at the PA controller, PA controller is, I think you might already studied in control system, that is the linearized control. Like you have to do the piecewise linearization. That means your input is known. If you know the input, then only you can actually derive the known output from the PA. So PA controller, we are giving the error. So that error, it is actually, it's a main objective of any controller is reducing the error as fast as possible. So in that sense, so if you see in the real time world, no system is linear, all has unlinear systems. At least I didn't see any linear system throughout. Anything you take, even our body you take. See, our growth at the childhood days, it's a faster. When its age grows, the growth of body will comes down. Like it's a bone, like it's a characteristics or growth characteristics will change. That means it's all systems in this nature is non-linear. That means the whatever we are using, the PA controllers are not up to mark if the characteristics changes. We try, but it's not, it's a perfect in the this thing. I think you recently you might have actually heard from news channels Israel attacks and Israel protections on from Palestine, all these things. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring the non-linearity into the system, like it's a controls. That means where, what is this non-linearity means, for example, you have the known inputs, that means so like it's a two homogeneity and it's a superposition, if I remember correctly. If these two holds good, then only PI controller works. But if considering the real time scenarios, no system follow this rule. That means it's a requirement of introducing the non-linearity. So what these neural networks and this fuzzy or whatever you name it, so artificial intelligence, it is act like your brain means it's like certain extent we can actually mimic the non-linearity. So that means see, based on our observation, for example, I'm seeing say my friends and my like it's generations of body growing, so then I can predict that with my kid, so it this stage to this age these many centimeters he will grow, after this age these many centimeters I will go. I'm predicting. How I'm predicting? Based on the my past experiences. The same thing here, if you comes to the grid integrated inverters and all, here systems are, we are linearizing. That mean, what I mean to say, this pattern, the solar panel characteristics, whatever is the PI curve or it's whatever maybe the curves, so that all we are linearizing to understand the system response and to plan the system response basically. But in the real time scenario, every factor, including the temperature, humidity, even dust, will actually play a role in changing a grid thing. So because here we are planning the grid, we are assuming grid as a stiff. In the non-grid, in the non-stiff grid scenario, what will happen? So there will be a fluctuations. So if you plan your PI controller for like it's a stiff grid scenario, that scenario is not valid. So it will obviously go out from the synchronism. It's not possible to feed seamless power to the grid. So there we are bringing the neural networks or artificial intelligence into picture. So this PI controller will tune by itself for the non-linearity that we are training previously. So that way we are trying to increase the scope of the controller. You got it? What I wanted to say.
Sir.
Yeah. So that way, this everywhere. It's not only here, everywhere that is the case. Yeah.
Sir, in literature, I have seen this state of art moving towards like this. Actually, so my doubt is, as a young engineer, so is it industry need, or actually will it be pen and paper research? That's
No. Actually, I will tell you what it is. Like it's see, till this Israel attacks comes, even US didn't know that how the technology works. Yeah, so till that time, people were thinking that it is on paper.
Yes, sir.
But it's like when this really they actually demonstrated. So almost it's as per my understanding, 78% it's like they're accurate. So that sense, I think it's now whatever we are seeing on the paper, why can't we as a researcher, why can't we bring it to the practice? But if you go and tell to industry, definitely they won't agree because it's not matured to that level. But as a researcher, we have to make attempts to bring it to that level. We have to make industries to adopt this technology. So R&D division of industry will do continuously this only. So, but 90% will fail, 10% will succeed. That 10% will be adopted to the products. So R&D, not 90%, 99.9% are failures. But this artificial intelligence essential need in the future, because there is no other option if it comes, when it comes to the microgrid, means it's renewable things, because we have to predict. We don't have any other option. We have to use the data mining. We have to collect the data. We have to use the data mining. We have to apply artificial intelligence to forecast what will be the future. So we don't have any other option other than the artificial intelligence.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. I have one more question.
Yes.
Sir, actually, while we are pumping the power from the solar to the grid, actually the voltage on the solar side should be higher. But that higher voltage level is scheduled by what, sir? Either by
Yes.
PWM
Yeah.
Radiance signal we are receiving out from the solar, or by the radiance of the solar, radiance that we are receiving the solar.
I will
What decides
explain. Yeah, I got your question. I'll explain. I'll try to explain clearly, but like it's. Let me know if you get it or not. See, what will happen here? If you see intuitively, system is first we will set the modulation index of the inverter exactly matches with the grid voltage. So it is kind of. For example, if you don't want to like it's say you think it's a dam is there, the dam, when you open the dam, you don't want water flow to be you don't want water to be transferred from one side to other. You have to maintain the both voltages at the same potential like it's energy. That means the level you have to maintain. So same thing what we are here, what we do, we will adjust the modulation index such that the voltage of the grid is exactly equal to the initially. So that means when we integrate, no current will flow. That means no power is flowing. So after that what we do, see, now once you connect with the grid, so now it's a parallel system. The system you connected in parallel. Whatever you do with the system, voltage will be maintained, because grid is actually the huge energy. Because the grid voltage is not you are defining, it's defined by the conventional sources, which is very high in potential size. So that means voltage is defined by your grid. You are not defining, because the solar form that you actually brought into the system is very small. So that way the voltage, since it's a parallel system, the voltage is defined. So now how we are feeding the current into the system, now we are increasing the modulation index so slowly. That means what modulation index will do, actually it increases the width of the pulses slowly. So now you have an inductor. So that inductor, what we will do, it converts that V into T. That means it's a current. So for at that particular voltage, it is converting into current. So you are forcing current to go through inductor to the grid. Got my point, Muthuswamiji? No.
Yes, sir. But sir, you mean to say that the lowest modulation index we can have is decided by the grid voltage?
Grid voltage, that is the lowest modulation. After that, whatever you increase the modulation index, that means indirectly you are trying to force voltage to go high. Because of the grid voltage it cannot go, but V into T, that that voltage per factor, it is converting into current. That current will go to grid.
Sir, is there any limitation for a maximum modulation index, sir? Is there any value?
Yes. Actually, that defined by your DC source. Means, for example, you have the solar panels connected in series. Okay, so that voltage, that open circuit voltage on this voltage is actually deciding you have to have a one loop. It's always keep track of your MPP point. So that indirectly deciding the modulation index. Your DC bus voltage is maintaining the modulation index.
Sir, what kind of technique is currently used, sir? What kind of PWM technique is currently used?
PWM techniques, generally we go for SVPWM because DC bus utilization is more. Space vector PWM techniques. So, but it's a
Conventional one, right, sir?
So conventional one. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll cover the material bit. I think we don't have much time now, so I'll cover quickly. I think we'll have the discussion later. So these are all basics that we have covered, and we have also covered certain doubts. But we will discuss later. I'll briefly cover what actually I wanted to say. So this actually basic thing I have given, how the solar panels works and all. Here one thing we have to understand is solar panels exhibit the current source characteristics. That means the current is constant up to certain level, even voltage increases. That's what we have to understand. That means it's a ideal current source characteristic still here. So based on that, you have to plan your connections. So this is good. Current source always demands higher current, lower voltage. It's a preferable configuration. So that is the reason nowadays, of course, people are going for higher voltage, but as per our understanding, it's not preferred configuration. Of course, in literature, there are lot of configurations are available. So rising the voltage, adopting the single inverter, you could see with A, and the string inverters, each string will have its own inverter and integrate with the AC network. Or it's like it's a DC to DC converters and raise the voltage required for the inverter and integrate with the grid. And it's like, again, say small voltages, use a big like it's a transformer to integrate with the AC network. There are many configurations are available, but among all the configuration, it is always only one thumb rule: the cost should be reduced and efficiency should be increased. So if you have more number of converters, efficiency will go down because of the cascading effect. So that means if you can do one inverter, that will be more. If you adopt only one inverter for all, that will be the useful configuration. But that is processing efficiency perspective. But if you look at the characteristics of solar panels, it demands a lower voltage and higher current. That way there is a drawback in the conversion efficiency. So it is having its own trade-offs. Maybe you can think it's a different topology which can operate one inverter. Means it's can able to boost also, and it tracks the AC voltage also. If you can develop anything such like that, it will be more advantage. It's a one research scope you can think. So this all I mentioned. What is the distortion limits and IEC standards, I think we have covered already. So this is the MPP point. So we have a different algorithms to actually use a different how to track the maximum power. So here, if you see, the current is a fixed, even though if you increase the voltage, that means power you are increasing. So that will increase up to a certain extent. After that, it will fall based on the characteristics. Here, after the MPP power, the current will fall drastically if you increase the voltage further. So this means what we are doing, one thing we have to understand, we are actually adjusting the resistance. It's a dynamic resistance control. What I mean to say, see, if you have a constant current, if you are increasing the resistance, voltage across the resistance will increase without effect, because source will maintain the current. So that means you are increasing the voltage in this region. So it will be like it's, that means power across the resistor you are increasing, because voltage is increasing, current is fixed. So power is increasing up to this point. After that, current is falling. Even if you increase the resistance, that means even though voltage is actually increases across the solar panel. So that's what this means. You have to understand this one. So matching the resistance, matching the impedance of the solar panel with the grid. That's what it's essentially I mean to tell here. So here I feel like it's I'm actually thinking to explain how to size the capacitor. Why it's so much emphasis on the capacitor is it's most vulnerable device, and it's decides the life of your complete inverter, because it's a capacitor life comes mostly 5 years, but the inverter switches it can up to 10 years. So that's the reason sizing of the capacitor is more important. How you size the capacitor, how you design the size, it is more crucial when you actually sell any product, because oversizing will attract a lot of price. Undersizing will actually deteriorate the life of your converter. So like it's I told previously, this is what I have done, we have done in the lab. So this I told you, right? We use a simple Excel sheet. This is the Excel sheet we use. What we give the power rating, we give the voltage. This is the voltage of the inverter. So what we want, the output is this one. Actually, it computes its own capacitor current and like it's. So here we can see the complete characteristics we can capture. So the requirement here is 620 microfarad. If you use a electrolytic capacitor, so here the requirement is 42,000, because if you look at the voltage is reduced. So this, based on that, the simple excels will work. It's like we have all the equations, so you can use whatever. So generally what I ask my students is to what equations you have used, they have to actually stores all their waveforms and equations here in the PDF thing, or it's any document that they have to share. So that's what we do generally. So this is the computations of the capacitors again. We preferably use electrolytic because it's a higher storage. It offers higher energy storage. But if you consider the life of the capacitor, film capacitors are better. If you can reduce the requirement, film capacitors will go good. But we don't have that much capacity film capacitor. We don't have any other option other than the aluminum electrolytic or some hybrid capacitors. So this is the sizing for your reference. I have given how we compute. So after that, what we do, how many we have to, it's after computing the C. So we will see what voltage it has to tolerate at what current. So then we will see which company is actually giving that. So we will actually, here in this case, EPCOS is more appropriate because we have observed that terminal resistance, ECR we generally call. So that is less in EPCOS. So we actually, we mentioned EPCOS. So this is the general computation that we follow to actually show. I have actually highlighted here. So after that, coming to the inverter part, inverters, I think you all know. So we have two types. It's we have two types of grids. Like one is single phase and it's a three phase. Depending upon the power rating, either we go for the single phase inverters or it's a three phase inverter. If it is higher energy, we are integrating with the grid. We are actually gives the three phase thing. So here I have mentioned, I think it's a single phase and three phase. Like it's somebody asked me which PWM. It's all depends on us. Like it's if the DC bus requirement is DC bus utilization. If you want more, we go for SVPWM. If it's a simple, like it's a sine triangle, we can go like if it computational burden if you want to reduce. It's all up to us. Like it's how we actually adopt the system. We have to see basically two things. One is cost and other one is performance. So these two comes with the trade-off. Like it's if you increase the cost, performance will be better. So if you decrease the price, performance will also be lower. So that you have to see which one is your priority. So we have to find the intersection point where we can operate our things. Just to show, like I have given. So to explain some of our concentration, research concentrations in our lab, I just mentioned few topics. Like it's, I would like to highlight few topics here. So the first one is, like I said, it's a very well-known configuration, dual inverter configuration. I think it's IISc Bangalore. It's mostly researching on this. We have identified very nice like its application with this configuration even in the grid connected inverters. What we have identified is, for example, you have the load, DC side is grounded, AC side is grounded, but the DC side voltages are forcing more circulating currents, more currents to the ground potential because of the common mode voltage. So in that sense, if you can reduce the voltage levels, so the DC side voltage level to synthesize the AC voltage required by the grid, so these currents magnitudes we can reduce. So that's what we are trying to do. Of course, we actually succeeded some extent. We communicated to few journals and things. The major why we are doing this is, see, if we actually increase the higher voltages, so what we have observed is like it's if you see the solar panel manufacturers, they always love to ground their frame because of the whatever may be the reason, like safety, or it's like it's a reference, a stiff reference, whatever may be the reason, they will ground the frame. So if you ground the frame, so if you are increasing the voltage magnitudes to certain level, the top cell is experiencing the potential of very high difference of very high voltage with respect to the ground, because the frame is next to that cell. So now what is happening is leakage current is flowing through. That means it's a cell through cell to the ground, because we are not extracting that current properly because of the resistance involved in that particular path, the inverter path. The simplest thing it is doing is the electrons are through capacitance effect, it is jumping to the frame, then it is actually going to the ground. That is for that electron, it is the simplest thing. So that process, what's happening, the solar panel is getting damaged. So although the people are giving 25 years, we have seen certain cases 10 years also the solar panels are, I think it's going like it's unused condition. So to actually address this issue, what we thought is, okay, this is an issue because of the potential difference. It's a raised DC bus voltage. Why can't we reduce the one potential problem is this one, and what the solution we are trying to propose is reduce the DC bus voltages or ground the DC potential at the middle. Like it's we have, if you ground the middle, the potential will be shared across positive and negative. Maybe that will reduce the actually the potential difference between the frame and the cell on the top. So that way we are actually identifying the different methodologies to reduce. So what we have identified, the dual inverter configuration, we can not only can reduce the DC bus voltage, but also we can actually ground the DC potential, DC bus midpoint, because here it will give the flexibility of eliminating the circulating current by switching itself. Even though if you ground, there won't be any circulating current. So recently this concept is accepted by IEEE Industrial Electronics. I think that means it's okay. Because we, as a researcher, we don't know like it's how things will adopt by industry. So that means we can use that technology. That's the reason I kept in this slide. Probably if you want to pursue further anyone, maybe you can think in this direction. So this we have actually demonstrated. It's a here it's a conventional thing. It is demanding it's almost 200 volt, but here it is only almost 125 volt. It's sufficient to derive the phase voltage across the output. That's what we are showing here. So this is the hardware setup actually we built in the lab. So this is the complete hardware. These are all the dual inverters, and we have integrated with the grid here. This is the control circuitry. These are all the sensing current. These two are the current sensors, and this is the voltage sensor. These are all sensor. We built everything in the lab. Only we have purchased the scopes and the solar emulator. Other than this, of course, transformer we purchased. Other than this, even loads, like it's this built by some students. That's what they said. Okay, next thing is very like it's this already told, it's a circulating current. So this circulating current we are actually nullifying by selecting the appropriate switches. So how actually we have done? So here the DC side we have grounded, AC side we have grounded. So we have seen there are certain switching states actually giving zero common mode voltage. So we have identified the switching states of inverter 1 and inverter 2, where exactly this common mode voltages goes to 0. So we have chosen, we have actually modeled what is the impedance of the AC and DC side in order to get the 0 common mode voltage. So that way we have actually demonstrated we can actually ground the DC bus also, and different power, the circulating current will be 0. That means capacitor midpoint voltage across the capacitor midpoint, and AC side star point is 0 all the time. So that's the one thing. And other thing that we are working on is V-Grid. In India, like I said, if you compare with other countries, like it's Japan and other European countries, there the grid is very strong. One reason is there it's the geographical area is very less, grid is very small. So it's like it's a stiff grid they will get. But here our grid is vast, like it's a huge grid, and we have integrated with a lot of loads and a lot of non-linearities. That's the main reason actually we generally encounter the weak grids in India. So like I said, the weak grid, when it comes solar inverter integrating with the weak grid is always challenging. Even Hitachi is working, ABB is working, even Toshiba, whoever is manufacturing these solar inverters, it's a toughest challenge for them. So now we are trying to actually give some solution for them. Means like it's a through control loops, but of course we have not succeeded it. But we can, what we have identified is controller is playing the role. See why this is the problem. Maybe if some of you are interested, you can work in this direction. So here it's a, as of now, literature, mostly Chinese are working in this area. Literature, they are targeting either LG or RG, means whatever is the resistance that they are going, or the short circuit ratio of the grid they are actually seeing individually. But here V grid actually impact all together is impacting the solar inverter. This interaction, it's no one is actually could model it perfectly. So that way, probably if you can contribute in that direction, you can, if you can bring using say artificial intelligence or it's some concepts, if you can identify the perfect interactions between the impedances and the short circuit ratios and the controller performance and the solar characteristics, if you can bring some what I would say transfer function, so that will actually solve the purpose. So we have identified up to certain extent. So we have actually, we have identified one transfer function and like it's a control logic. So with that we could achieve that means we could achieve lesser I will show you hardware result. See here, this is with the V-Grid. With our proposed, you could see this one. But drawback with our proposed thing is the dynamic response is lesser because we are limiting the bandwidth of the controller. So now we are working on the bandwidth improvements. So although it is not an issue if you consider V-Grid scenario in grid connected inverter, because like it's a time constant of transferring power is high. That way it's not an issue. Why we are targeting this issue is if you say, if you are using the similar concepts for UPS, it's a high bandwidth is required to actually go to the error very to minimize the error faster, to go to steady state quicker. So that way this solution may not be feasible. Of course we have to see it, but as of now we are thinking it's not feasible. So now we are trying to identify the trade-offs, and we are trying to identify the optimal point where we can where we can operate this particular configuration. So that's what it is. We, in this process, what we have identified, this is the harmonics with the conventional. It is almost reduced. If you see with our control technology, so the current THD is below 3% for all values of LG. So that is one thing. And other thing is, parallel we are also working on the regenerative braking for electric vehicles. That this concept, it's like it's we are how we are exploring regenerative braking demands. Of course, it's not renewables. Down the line, we want to integrate with the grid, because regenerative braking extracted energy, we want to put it to the grid. It's kind of grid connected inverter, and it's a kind of, it's like it's a battery charging station. So when it operates as a rectifier, non-linear load, it actually, we have to take care how the things are happening in the grid side. When we are putting how like it's a unity power factor, whatever power factor with less THD, how we put this power into the grid, that we have to handle simultaneously. That also one research problem we are trying to solve. And next thing is like we are not only research, and also we are actively trying to develop products for based on the government initiatives. Like if you remember, or if you heard, recently government of India has announced, our honorable finance minister has announced farmer friendly or solar pumping schemes, the scheme called Kusum. So based on this scheme, we are trying to actually bring the artificial intelligence to the system. So solar pumps, so that can actually adopt as per the environment and things. This is what the problems associated with the existing pumps. The one is, like I mentioned, it's like it's life of the solar panel due to potential induced degradation that I mentioned, with higher voltage, how the solar cells are going, and quality of the power, because it's always at forms we will see only lower power, means high X by R ratio. That means it's always grid, so we don't have solution for it. And it's intermittent all the time, like it's if you want to integrate with the grid and the solar, means it's a pump, always we have to, like it's a switch between these two. So it is very tough in the sense that designing the controls if the complexity of the system increases. So that is the another problem we have to tackle. And it's forecasting tools, of course. It's since it is the associated with the farming, so the demand is uncertain. Like it's we have to identify different crops requires a different patterns of water requirement. It actually exhibit those characteristics. We have to like it's a supply sizing, we should be appropriate based on the demand. So these things we have to do based on the forecasting and energy assessment things. So we are planning to implement AI based things. So this is the complete architecture that we have proposed to renewable energy sources and energy management, Ministry of Energy. So I think it's for developing the prototype. So this, I think, if you see, we were planning to use the IoT based sensors, and those sensors will actually interface with the IoT based forecasting engines. So that will control the complete pump, as well as if required, it will pump to nearby villages. If excess energy is there, it will pump to the grid. So complete system we can monitor from the remote. That's what we are actually trying to do. So this is the system as of now we have developed. So we have tested the pump, like we are now trying to implement the IoT based sensing circuits and all. So this is having, if somebody want to go for incubation based on this, probably you can also think based on this one. So, but as a research labs, we always encourage to provide the technology, whoever is really want to go for business. So we have identified certain advantage. The first thing is, this is indigenous. This product is indigenous. That means we can like it's optimize our product based on our requirement, because complete things is in our hand. If down the line farmers need some changes, we can easily do it, which it's not possible with imported things. And other one is government support is always will be there, because it's related to farming, and it's a huge market. Will be like it's down the line. If you see the investment, even our honorable finance minister is announced, it's almost 480 billions are actually they're planning to invest in coming future. That means if you are the manufacturer, definitely you can grab this opportunity, because very limited people are there in this sector. That means pump manufacturers are there, Kirloskar, Shakti pumps, but the complete solution no one is giving till date. So the other thing what we are actually targeting is smart cities. So if you look at the government, other government initiatives, the smart cities are next step that actually, if COVID is not there, this project might actually go good pace. But it, because of the unpredicted, means unexpected events like it's this pandemic and all, this project got delayed. But we are actually proposing this to MNRE and this Ministry of Infrastructure. I don't remember exact division, but we are proposing this to ministry. So this is another. Here what we are planning to do, we are trying to harvest all the energy coming within the building, and apart from, like, it's a battery of your vehicle. Say your battery vehicle is available, you are willing to give it to the grid to earn some money, you can do it. So the gym energy, you can actually use it to feed it to the grid, to use it for your necessities. And it's a demand management. For example, your mother want to turn on the mixie at night, so if she can postpone till morning when the renewable energy, when the solar is available, so the cost optimization we can actually do. So all these things we are trying to do with the AI. So this is the basic idea that we are proposing, but let's see, but it's still in the proposal stage. If someone wants, you can actually pursue further and you can join with us, it's no issue. So this is the funding things that we actually see. The government of India is rigorously funding all its initiatives, but only thing you have to see, like, it's what is the initiative. If it is deviating bit from other, a bit, if you are deviating, it's so difficult to fund. But if you, as long as you are aligned with their objectives and you see what is their goals and how much investment they're planning, based on that, if you write a proposal, always you will be in the winner side, irrespective of where you are working and what you are working. You have to show you are capable of deriving a product out of this research. So because if you look at the present scenario, China we are trying to eliminate from India, so that way indigenous products will always play a role down the line. So future will be Indian manufacturer things. So if someone interested, probably like, it's a collaboration. We are all even I'm actually telling my research scholars to go for its manufacturing side. But let's see how things will move. But for now, if you want to, if you need some money for prototyping and all, so there are a lot of agencies actively funding. For example, DST, Ministry of HRD. So like, it's there are many private organizations, like it's Adani Power, Reliance Power. So there are many private organizations. They're trying. Ministry of MIT, you might heard. So CPRI, Central Power Research Institutes, all these things are collectively giving money to develop the prototypes. Yeah, I think this is my team. I just want to introduce. It shows, that's it. So we are very keen about developing the renewable energy technology, and we are very focused. I would like to tell IIT Roper, we call our lab as RPM lab, Renewable Power Modulation Lab, and we are focused on only renewable energy sources. Yeah, with this, I think I will end. I think I have taken almost till 11 o'clock. I'm sorry, but I think I'll end. I think we will discuss further on this. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Yeah.
Participants, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, please.
Yes, your schematic for a grid connected system doesn't show any DC to DC converter,
Yeah.
but it shows only the inverter topology. Does it
Yes.
mean that MPPT is not implemented, or it is implemented through inverter?
We have implemented through inverter. So we have two loops. One is voltage loop and it's MPPT. Actually, this fellow will give a reference to VD reference, whatever it is at MPP point. So we can say VDC. That error will generate the ID reference. This way, this always will operate at the MPP point. This loop.
But that means you are sensing PV power or sensing PV voltage and
Yeah,
current?
yeah. PV power we are sensing. MPP point what will happen? IDC and VDC. So this power will generate the VD reference. So what is the actual VDC? These two errors will collectively generate the ID reference. So ID reference is the active power reference that goes to the grid. So that way this system will always operate at MPP, because it's because we are deriving VD reference and ID reference correspond to the MPP point. Yeah.
Okay. So that because you are using two loops separately.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it takes care of both the things, synchronization as well as MPP.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So any doubts? It's a general discussion also. I'm okay. Whatever I know, probably I can
hello,
explain. So if I don't know.
Sir, can you just explain what is solar induced degradation in solar panel?
Yes. Like, okay. Okay, I think next I can get this. Yeah. So here, if you look at carefully, like it's these are all the cells. Like it's we connect in series to bring the voltage, say 1000 volts generally, right? So this voltage, in order to bring, if you look at the solar panel, it will be comes in the rating of say 30 volt, not more than that, 35 volt. So that means solar panel itself connected internally in the parallel. The series connection current will be more, voltage will be less. But when it comes to like it's generate the higher voltages, so then we have to connect the all the solar panels in the series, and you see a large number of solar panels in the series. So that solar panels, what will happen? So when we connect all the solar panels in the series, so this is the DC side, and this is the this is negative side, and this is the positive side. So what we do generally, or the solar panel manufacturers, so they always prefer to ground the frame of the solar panel. So when we ground the solar panel, if you look at it's a farmost point, say we here that this is the DC potential of 1000 volts, with reference to the ground, this will experience almost 1000 volts between these two, right? Clear? No.
Okay.
Yeah. So this potential with reference to ground. So that what it will do, that potential, that means it is appearing between your solar cell and the frame. That means it is kind of isolation will be there. It's kind of a capacitor with a huge voltage potential difference. So if the capacitor, as long as it maintains its properties, because it's isolation, it's no issue. But because of this huge potential, what will happen is this barrier will slowly degrade. Why? Because this potential wind will be there, humidity will be there, these temperatures effects will be there. This barrier, there is a force, there is a always try to put electrons jump from this point to, I mean, the higher potential to lower potential. So that way it always, this potential difference always act against whatever its actual requirement. So one point of time, say with time, what will happen? So that capacitance resistance may decrease, means the blocking capability will, dielectric strength reduces. So electrons will freely flow from that cell to this ground. So that will damages the complete cell.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, have you saw any real-time experience?
Yes. We have seen many actually like this, because even if you go to solar panel and if you put the clamp meter at the ground, means ground terminal, So ideally no current should flow, because what current it should take, it's a zero, right? Because it's all isolated, and there is no potential at the frame. Only lightning times and all, it's probably some current will flow, but ideally no current should flow. But if you go and put the clamp meter, you will always see some current. That means it's a leakage current.
Sir, one more query, sir. We have a series and parallel connections. What about other configurations? Like you might have heard about honeycomb and all. So have you saw any practical
No,
implementation?
no, actually those things we are like, it's a circular ring configuration, you mean to say?
Yes, sir. Like honeycomb, different configurations.
No, those things we have not actually worked practically, means.
So
No.
what is your comment on that, sir? Other than series and parallel combinations, what?
Actually, I will tell you, not other than and parallel or series. See, I will tell you how you have to look at the things. See, always our aim is to like increase the life of the solar panel and extract the maximum efficiency, whatever may be the configuration. But the our goal is to like it's increase the efficiency and increase the lifespan of the product. So when this will happen, only when you make the system comfortable. Like it's a, you should not put any stress on the, and I mean to say, you should not go against the characteristics. Like if you actually if you look at the real time things, as long as you are good with your friend, the things are go. Once the dispute comes, like it may be small initially, all the things will be looks all right, but that things always will be there in our mind. It will actually slowly develop. It's a like it's opposing things. So what I mean to say here is like it's even if it is small, we should not neglect. See, initially it actually flows say 2 milliamps of current, it's a 2 microamps of current. So we may think that, okay, how it actually affects, like it's if it goes to parallel series, so we will think how it affects, but down the line slowly it will increase to higher magnitudes. People are always love to operate solar panel with lesser current, means higher current and lesser voltage. Like you are telling, na, honeycomb and other why the need of coming up with different configuration? Because with the series and parallel there is a trade-off. So if it is parallel, that means current will be higher, voltage is lesser. But the thing is that when we integrate with the grid, you have to use either DC to DC converter at the DC side or the transformer at the AC side in order to increase the voltage levels. So that affects the number of stages. That means processing efficiency goes down. But the same time, if you actually go for higher voltages, that means you are increasing the leakage current. That will down the line, that gradually that affects your thing. That's the reason people are trying various configuration, various like it's a topologies to address these issues. If all things are good, people even they don't worry about bringing the other topologies, right? They don't even worry. Since there is a problem with these things, the people are trying, but no system, honestly speaks, no man-made system is perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I think we'll close the questioning at this point. If you have any.
Sir, just one general question.
Yes, and then yeah.
Sir, you are doing very well, exceptionally well in your domain, in your institute. But what you would suggest the scope of work or the research work for the lower colleges wherein like infrastructure or the fund is the problem? Suppose I have to guide a PhD student, then what type of research problem I can suggest?
Yeah. Anand, I got your point. So here, like I will tell you. So See, there first thing I would like to say, there is a will, always there will be a way. Means only thing we have to identify how to actually achieve. See, like it's you might have heard. In fact, if you see anyone of your colleagues or anyone, so no one is from very big background. So consistent work, consistent strategy. Even if you look at our own prime minister, means I'm not like it's I'm not bringing the political issues here, but thing is that consistent work will always place you at the better position. You don't have to worry what resources you have with the limited resources. For example, I will give you a small example here. See, we don't have any hardware things to work. So artificial intelligence, say it's requires only one system and Python is installed in the system, nothing else. But you can generate n number of papers in that. Once you start bringing papers, people will recognize. The things will change only through recognition. Means, for example, initially research, it should not means demand lot of patience. Means research is not like it's a 100 meters run. It is like a marathon. And in that run, resources never be constrained. What I mean to say, there is a research, even if you take the simple problem V is equal to IR, you can do research, you can publish a number of papers. If you look at our like it's a great personalities like CV Raman or it's like whoever, they don't have resources initially. They have actually mastered. You may think that they have good brain. No, no one has a brain. It's all consistent work. How much time you devote, it's like it's I don't have like it's much exposure, but generally these things I follow in my life. So if it is useful, maybe you can think how I look at the things. If I don't have resources, it's no problem. There will be another alternative which can give equally the same exposure. For example, since I have this resources, I'm working on this particular area. If I don't have, I might have went to sit in like developing artificial intelligence with basic system configuration. For that, it's like it's a generation 2 system is more than sufficient with Microsoft NT. So it's resources never be constrained, Anandji. What I feel, probably I don't know, but how much extent. But as far as my understanding, you always can collaborate with the institute with good ideas if you have a good ideas. So people are ready to fund. Even I have seen one of my student. He actually proposed some idea. He got 2 crores funding straight away, which is not in his domain also. He is from electrical. He actually proposed this idea in biomedical. So he got 2 crores. With this, he is establishing his own things. Ideas are important. It's not the resources. And hard work is pays. Keep you separate from others. Always. Your hard work definitely pays back. You should not frustrate. That's it. In research, 99% are failures. That 1% or even lesser that it's on probably 0.1%. I would say that success will definitely define, because all these failures matters to achieve that success. My professor always used to say, the PhD is 1 minute job, but you have to spend 5 years to get that 1 minute. Because idea comes in 1 minute only, or even one fraction of a second probably. But you have to spend 5 years to get that time, right? Yeah, but that way you're always welcome. Even no IIT will say no if you come and if you say you are willing. We have a restriction in terms of number of seats because of MHRD restriction, but otherwise accessing labs and all, no one will say no.
Yes, sir, I got your point. Thank you so much for the valuable input, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.